Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be answering a question that I get all the time. But before I go any further, I just want to give a fair warning that this video will have spoilers for the end of Mistborn, the Final Empire, which is book 1 of the original Mistborn trilogy. There will also be minor spoilers for book 1 of Wax and Wane, Alloy of Law. So the question that I get all the time and that I want to address in this video is, how does allomantic and feruchemical compounding work? A lot of people get very confused by this idea, so I wanted to make this video to be able to explain that principle in a pretty simple way. So in order to explain compounding, I'm going to first need to give a brief overview of both Allomancy and Feruchemy so that we can understand how compounding works. This video is not intended to be a comprehensive guide of Allomancy or a comprehensive guide of Feruchemy. We're going to cover just enough so that compounding can make sense. So let's jump into Allomancy. I've put together this visual in Lucidchart to visualize the process. This isn't specific to any metal, but this is more about how allomancy works in general. If we look at an allomancer, or somebody who can access the powers found in allomantic metals, and they ingest that allomantic metal, and then they burn that allomantic metal, they then manifest the power that's associated with that specific metal that they're burning. Now, a few things that I want to point out on this visual here is that an Allomancer who has not ingested an allomantic metal is no different than a non-Allomancer. They have no special abilities. Or an Allomancer who has ingested a metal but is not actively burning it is the same. They have no extra powers until the moment that they burn the metal. This is an important principle to understand in allomancy in general, is that the power comes from the metal itself. An allomancer who is not burning a metal has no power. And that's something that's very important to understand how compounding works later on. Now, if we look at Feruchemy, Feruchemy is another one of the metallic arts found in Scadrial. Feruchemy uses the same metals that allomancy does, but in a very different way. Generally, a Feruchemist will be wearing a bracer or a bracelet or rings or earrings so that they have metal touching their body. And if the Feruchemist is touching this metal, and this metal contains a stored attribute, they then have the choice to either store more of that attribute or tap that attribute. If they're tapping it, they can draw upon whatever attribute is stored in that metal, whether it be strength or speed or mental speed or warmth or whatever it is that's stored. Now, if we follow some of the other paths here, if a Feruchemist is not touching a metal, then a Feruchemist is no different than any other person, just like an Allomancer who is not burning a metal. The thing about Feruchemy that's also important to note is that it's all about balance. If you want to be able to draw upon strength later on, you have to spend a certain amount of time weaker than usual. And for that specific attribute, strength, when you store it, your body actually becomes weaker, your muscles become smaller, and you actually decrease in size. And the opposite is true when you tap that strength. Your muscles grow, you become larger. This is just a high-level overview of how Allomancy and Feruchemy work. We see Allomancy represented with the blue and black colors up here, and we see Feruchemy represented by the orange and cream and brown colors here. But today we want to talk about how compounding works. Compounding is the very clever combination of these two metallic arts. It's more than simply burning a metal and also tapping an attribute from a metal mind. Compounding is something new entirely, and you can see that represented by the color scheme here. We see the allomantic portion of compounding over here on the left in the blue, and we see the feruchemical with the cream and brown, but this here is represented by this yellow box, which is the new power that is unique to compounding and is not found naturally in Feruchemy or in Allomancy. Somebody who is both an Allomancer and a Feruchemist will ingest one of their metal minds, and they will burn that metal mind, and they will get an incredible burst of the feruchemical attribute. So what's happening here is when a Feruchemist stores an attribute in a metal, they are essentially changing that metal into a new allomantic metal. And I'll show this as an example with the gold down below. We know that gold is a fairly useless allomantic metal. It allows the Allomancer to see a past version of themselves, and not much more than that. As a feruchemical metal, however, gold is very powerful. It enables the Feruchemist to store health in this metal mind, so they can spend weeks and weeks feeling a bit sick and save up enough health to then heal from a bullet wound or worse. But what's very interesting is that it's the combination of these two that make gold compounding incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. When a Feruchemist stores health in a gold mine, he is changing the allomantic properties of that gold into something new. And so when that Feruchemist ingests the gold mine and they burn it, it does not express the same attribute that normal gold would. Instead, what it does is it multiplies exponentially the amount of health that you had stored. So basically, gold and gold mined are two separate allomantic metals. And somebody who has access to gold allomancy and gold feruchemy can basically burn two different types of gold. Normal gold, which allows you to see the past version of yourself, or a gold mined, which the allomantic property of that is to give it an incredible burst of healing. Now, what is really interesting here is that you can use this in an infinite loop to store as much health as you want. So what you can do is ingest your gold mine that you've already stored health in, you burn it, it gives you an incredible burst of healing, but if you're touching a gold mine, you can then pour that extra burst of healing directly into the gold mine. And then what you can do is then take that new gold mine, ingest that, and start the process over again. And so each loop that you do where you ingest a gold mine, you burn it, you get that incredible burst of healing, you pour that healing into a new gold mine, and then you burn that gold mine and you start over again. Each time you do that, it exponentially increases the amount of healing that you have. So what would take normally months and months and months of feeling ill and sick to store up enough health to heal, you can do in a matter of minutes. The only limit is how much gold that you have access to. We see this in Book 1 of the Wax and Wane era of Mistborn. Miles Hundredlives uses gold compounding to survive being blown up by dynamite, to survive being shot in the head, things that would normally kill a normal gold fairing. Miles Hundredlives can shrug off because he can heal incredibly quickly, and he doesn't have to be sparing with how much healing he has, because at any moment he can just continually charge his metal mines and have full metal mines of healing that he can draw on whenever he needs. Let me know down in the comments below if you found this video helpful and if you want more content like it. I plan to make videos explaining how the Bands of Mourning work, how the medallions that the Malwish use to tap connection, tap heat, tap weight work, and I also want to talk about hemalurgy and its ramifications across the Cosmere. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you and catch you at the next one. Later.